Salwete, we are here with lesson 13, and I'm just going to do a little quick recap in English here about the plot. I've added summaries for books 2, 3, and 4 in your guide, in your packet, and it's not a bad idea to even review book 1 if you feel like you need to, just all the action that's happened. In book 4, we're going to be skipping around a bit, and it's good to have a context and know where we're at in the story. So just very quickly, book 1 was real time, and we met Aeneas and his comrades 7 years into their journey as they were just sailing from Sicily to Italy. That storm that Juno masterminded sent them off course, and Aeolus helped, and then they ended up in North Africa at Carthage. There they met Venus, and she told them Dido's story. And Venus also did some meddling as a goddess to ensure Aeneas' safety in Carthage, so he would not be harmed. The book ends with Aeneas being received by Dido very favorably and all the Trojans, and Dido starts falling in love with Aeneas, in part because Venus has sent in Ascanius's place, that's Aeneas' son, or Iulus. She sent her son Cupid, and Cupid is working his magical love-making powers upon Dido throughout the course of the banquet. Dido pleads with Aeneas to tell the story of Troy, which he does, and that happens in books 2 and 3. In book 2, it's the fall of Troy. In book 3, it's the wanderings of Aeneas around the Mediterranean. Aeneas' narrative ends when he talks about the storm. Of course, Aeneas doesn't know that Juno sent this storm, but that doesn't matter. The mortals are played with by the gods here, and they don't know what's going on. So that is where Aeneas ends up, in Carthage with Dido. And now in book 4, we are going back to real time. So I'm going to go ahead and read this little summary here of book 4. This is a very brief summary, but I encourage you to read book 4 for yourself in English again as we start our lines in book 4. The syllabus picks up, for the AP, the syllabus picks up at line 160. So there's some of the narrative that happens before that, and it's really helpful to have that context as you start translating. So, Dido, inspired with love for Aeneas, confesses her fatal passion to her sister Anna, who encourages the queen to satisfy it. Juno, hoping to delay Aeneas' arrival in Italy, and Venus, Aeneas' mother, hoping to ensure her son's safety, cooperate to see that Aeneas and Dido are joined in a sexual union, which the queen regards as marriage. Okay, time out right there. So, Dido had, you'll find if you read those beginning lines, Dido has made this vow to herself and to her dead husband Sychaeus, who was murdered by her brother Pygmalion. We heard that story in book 1 from Venus, who was disguised as the huntress, to not marry again. And it's a big deal for Dido to even entertain the notion of remarrying. She's already turned down a number of suitors that were in North Africa, who we're going to see later, and she does not want to enter into a marriage, and she doesn't take this matter lightly. So she talks to Anna about it. Anna says that she should, and encourages her to pursue Aeneas. And Dido feels that if there's anyone that she would pursue, it would be Aeneas, because she's so taken with him. Now, of course, remember, Cupid, worked some of his magic at the banquet, so that might have something to do with it also. And then we have Juno and Venus, who have a tense conversation at the beginning of book 4, and they decide to join forces for the time being and connect in not formal marriage, but in a sexual union, Dido and Aeneas, and they both do it for different reasons, right? Venus does it because she wants Aeneas to be protected, and if Dido is smitten and in love with Aeneas, then she's not going to hurt him or the Trojans. Juno does it because she wants to delay fate as long as possible. The Romans have this idea that although you can't avoid fate, you might be able to delay it some. So Juno wants to keep Aeneas from Italy as long as possible. So they agree to join Aeneas and Dido. Now they do this, and this is where our lines are going to pick up. The Trojans and the Carthaginians all go on a hunting party, and Juno says, during this hunting party, I'm going to send a storm, and Dido and Aeneas are going to end up having to go to the same cave, and then that's where this quote, marriage, or this sexual union is going to happen. And so we're going to read that part. It doesn't get into too many details, and that'll be the next lines that we'll read. And then once that happens, rumor goes out and spreads the word that this is the god rumor that Aeneas and Dido are an item, and all these suitors that Dido earlier rejected are going to have something to say about that. They're not going to be too happy. So after that happens, these suitors are going to pray to the gods, and Jupiter's going to find out that Aeneas is delaying in Carthage. Aware that the Trojan prince is wasting valuable time with Dido, Jupiter, the king of the gods, sends Mercury to instruct Aeneas to sail from Carthage, which Aeneas reluctantly does. Dido, distraught by her lover's departure, puts a curse on the Trojans, the outcome of which will be the Punic Wars, and then commits suicide. So we'll be reading some parts from that portion of the narrative as well. Let's go ahead and get started with the text. Interea magno miscere murmure caelum, incipit insequitur commixta grandine nimbus, et turii comites passet Troiana Juventus, Dardaniusque nepos veneres diversa per agros, tecta metu petiere ruun de montibus omnes. Interea, meanwhile, this adverb here, meanwhile, the sky, that's our subject, begins, our main verb, present active indicative from incipio, to be mixed. It's a complementary infinitive, and it's passive infinitive. To be mixed, from misco miscere, magno murmure, with a great murmur. And of course we have great alliteration here. We've seen this same phrase, magno murmure, earlier with Aeolus, and it seems to be a phrase Vergil likes, and it's very nice alliteration. And automatopoeia too, because murmure sounds like murmur, murmurat. Meanwhile, the sky begins to be mixed with a great rumbling or murmuring. Insequitur, commixta grandine nimbus. A storm cloud, nimbus. Insequitur follows from insequor, it's a deponent, deponent, indicative, present. Commixta grandine, with hail mixed up. Ablative phrase here. Commixta grandine, with hail mixed up. Commixta is a perfect passive participle. Grandine is a noun. Hail, mixed up. I suppose that would be an ablative absolute. Far doesn't say, but it's definitely those two ablatives go together. Et turii comites passet Troiana Juventus, Dardaniusque nepos veneris diversa per agros, tecta metu petiere. Now we got several subjects here. The Tyrian comrades, that's one, plural, meaning Trojan, right? And et Troiano Juventus, and the Trojan youth. And Juventus is feminine, so Juventus goes with Troiana. And the Dardanius Nepos, the Dardanian grandson, or more generally offspring, but we're talking about Ascanius here, also known as Iulus. So that's talking about. Of Venus, we've got a genitive. Of Venus, because remember, Venus is Aeneas's mom. Okay, I'm not sure why I didn't underline that all the way. So, and the Tyrian comrades and the Trojan youth, and the Dardanian grandson of Venus. Here's our verb, petiere, seek, and this can be written petiere or petiere. It's from peto, petere. So sometimes there's a V in there, sometimes not. And this is short for petierunt or petierunt. So this is an indicative, not an infinitive. Oops, I wrote indicative. And the infinitive would be petere, right? The perfect is petiere. They seek. So all these guys up here seek tecta. There's our accusative. Tecta diversa. Those go together. Scattered roofs. And when it says roofs, what that means is shelters. Caves or trees or whatever might provide a tectum, a roof. So these are neuter plurals here. Diversa tecta. Scattered roofs. Per agros. Through the fields, over here, through the fields. This is accusative with per. In fear of the storm, okay? Metu, that's an ablative. It's a fourth declension, singular, ablative, in fear. So let's do this whole bit one more time right here. The Tyrian comrades, oh, we forgot pasim, which is everywhere, okay? So we'll add that in this time. And the Tyrian comrades and the Trojan youth and the Dardanian, which means Trojan, grandson of Venus, seek everywhere, out of fear, scattered houses, or not houses, but shelters, through the fields. Last part, ruunt de montibus amnes. Subject, amnes, which are rivers. Rivers ruunt, rush. De montibus, this is ablative. Down from the mountains. Rivers rush down from the mountains. The rivers from this storm that is falling now. And this is what Juno said she was going to do. She was going to create a storm, and it was going to cause Aeneas and Dido to seek the same cave, which we'll find out in the next lines what that's all about. Wale.